I almost left without my laptop. That would have been a disaster.
About to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know.
I am back on the grid, headed to Denver and then driving out to Breckenridge. I've never been there. Wanted to use this episode and this trip to talk about one of the things that I mentioned in the email video and why email is bad for you. And I will link it up here so you can see that video. I want to talk about meetings. I want to talk about why we need them, how to make good meetings happen, and what your role is in the meeting. That's what I want to talk about. In the month that I was off, the one thing I didn't miss at all were meetings, and they're starting to pop back up on my calendar. Already had 2, and I would say I'm 0 for 2 in terms of effectiveness when it comes to meetings. So I think we just do meetings poorly, and I want to talk about how we do meetings effectively. First time flying out of Flagstaff, flying directly to Denver, so it's cool. The airport is 10 minutes from where we're staying, so parking is a mess here. It's free parking, but it's kind of free-for-all parking when you see where cars are parked. Let's head to Denver.
I wanna know, where did we go wrong? Could we ever change this song into something beautiful, like the beauty that we've seen? I'm asking your lover, why do you have to be so mean? And as we go, let's get close, don't fool me. You're the only one.
Look at those. We're not in Flagstaff anymore. Those are big ass mountains. They have snow on them. It's the end of July and those mountains have snow on them. We're somewhere between the Denver airport and Breckenridge, where I am going to speak at an event there tomorrow. In the last video, I talked about one of the 2 things that I shut down when I'm off the grid, and that was about email. We're gonna do another video in the next couple of videos about email and what you can do, the strategies that you can use to get control of email. But in this video, I want to talk about the second thing that I shut down when I'm off the grid because they're such time wasters. And that's meetings, because we spend a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of money around meetings. And for the most part, they're very ineffective. It's not that meetings are bad or that meetings are terrible. It's that we are bad at running these meetings. And a lot of it is just bad habits or kind of patterns that we get into, and I want to talk about that. If you're a middle manager, you spend 35% of your time in meetings. If you are an executive, if you're upper management, you're spending more than 50% of your time in meetings. Don't believe me? Go look at a calendar from an executive or a middle manager and look through their week and see how much of that week is blocked out for meetings. We hold 25 million meetings a day, and a lot of those meetings aren't very effective. I mean, just the common worker like me spends between 1 and 2 hours a day in meetings. That's a quarter of your day you're spending on meetings. That doesn't even count the 4 hours, the 6 hours a week you're spending to prepare for those meetings. And the sad thing is that we can do something about it. Executives, the people in charge, 67% of them believe that most meetings are ineffective. When meetings are run well, they are unbelievably invaluable. And that's what I want to talk about. Yeah, I definitely have never been in this part of Colorado because I just went through a tunnel at like 10,000 feet. I was wondering if it was the highest tunnel in the country because we're at the top of the mountain and then there's a tunnel, long tunnel. We're cutting right through the mountain. Now we're on the other side, and I don't think I've ever seen this place. But as I said a couple minutes ago, most executives don't think meetings are effective, but yet we still have them. Why? Why do we have meetings? I believe there are 4 legitimate reasons to have a meeting. Number 1 is to generate ideas and solutions. It's the old saying, 2 heads are better than 1, 4 heads are better than 2, 6 heads are better than 4. I think that meetings are a great opportunity to generate ideas, generate solutions, but you have to frame those the right way. So that's 1. 2 is to share critical information. And the key word there is critical, not just information, critical information. Information that is going to elicit a response or a question. For example, if you're restructuring your organization, you don't want to just send out an email saying, we're restructuring the organization. You want to have a conversation with the key people, so you have a meeting to share critical information and then answer questions. Obviously, the most important reason to have a meeting is to make decisions. Have a meeting to make a decision so everyone's on the same page, so everyone agrees with the decision or disagrees, or at least you build consensus. And the last one is negotiation. And negotiation can be between you and another company, between you and a partner, it could be between two teams that are working on something. You get together in a room in real time and you negotiate to a win-win solution. Those are the reasons you should have a meeting. If you're having a meeting outside those 4 areas, you have to ask yourself, why are you having a meeting at all? CASA, C-A-S-A. So here you are in the boardroom, having a meeting, or about to have a meeting. You're starting to want to kill yourself already. So the first thing you need to think about, even before you walk into this door, is to ask yourself, do you need to have this meeting? What's the point of the meeting? What's the purpose? Not the agenda, the purpose. What's the purpose of the meeting that you're having? Answer the question, why are we having this meeting? And that's important because it'll help people prioritize whether they should be going to your meeting in the first place. A purpose will help you decide who needs to be in the meeting. If it is an idea session or brainstorming session, you should probably have the people that are good at brainstorming and the people that you count on for ideas. Oftentimes, managers or team leads will feel guilty if they leave somebody out of a meeting. I'm offended if you invite me to a meeting that I don't need to be part of. You won't offend me if you don't invite me to a meeting, if I'm not playing a role in that meeting, if there's no purpose for me to be in that meeting. Okay, the most important thing that you can do even before you start the meeting is to have an agenda. What is it that you're trying to accomplish in this meeting? If you don't have an agenda, then the meeting's just gonna get out of hand on you. It should have specific descriptions of what you're doing and then how long you think it'll take. Having a description and a time commitment for each topic gives anyone power to control that meeting. The other thing that an agenda helps you do, especially if you write out the description items and how long those items should take, it'll help you nail down how long the meeting should be. If you set up a meeting for an hour, it usually lasts an hour, and it probably doesn't have to last an hour. If you set up a meeting for an hour and the meeting lasts 20 minutes, there's something wrong with the way you plan meetings. Oh no, a projector, 300 PowerPoint slides with 800 words on each slide. That's what this meeting's about. Please don't let this meeting be about that. And one of the things that I picked up from a senior VP, she would have her staff meetings and she would start them on time. She'd close the door and start the meeting. And she always said, I'm not gonna reward people who are late. I'm gonna reward the people who are already here. Your team has a lot of back-to-back meetings, end at 9:20 or end at 9:50, so it gives people time to get what they need. But it's absolutely critical that you start on time and absolutely end it on time. When school ended at 3 and the teacher would say, hey, no, I need 5 more minutes, nobody's listening to you after you're supposed to end. If you have a no laptop rule, you should have a no laptop rule, but it should be for everyone. All of a sudden, you get into status symbols about who gets to keep their laptop open and who doesn't. And then also, laptops should also apply to phones. If you have a laptop rule, you should probably have a no phone rule. The decision maker, the leader in that room, sets the tone and creates the culture for those meetings. Very important to keep things flowing. And the best way to keep things flowing is to have an open parking lot so that if you come across something you're struggling with, but it's also important that this parking lot doesn't become a black hole, that there's actually action against the parking lot and that you bring these things back up when the time is right. And last but not least, I hope that somebody's keeping meeting notes. And at Google for 13 years, I almost have never taken notes in a meeting because we always have someone who takes notes and they share them on Google Docs. And if I don't go to a meeting, if I can't go to a meeting, then I have access to the notes. So make sure that those notes have action items. Because what's the point of a meeting if you don't end with action items? This meeting is over. Okay, I'm headed to my presentation. So let's go.
Hi, Sarah. This is Dylan.
Hi, how are you? Hi.
Make sure you're on mic and all that good stuff right out that door.
Okay.
For the
Okay, so we are done here and headed back to the Denver airport. Got 2 hours in front of us. Probably gonna stop once or twice. So let's go. I never understood skiing. It's cold, it's wet, it's ice, it's cold. People come down this thing right here. They come flying down that thing on ice, on the slippery ice basically, on snow. They come flying down that way. I wouldn't even run down that hill, let alone put 2 pieces of wood on my feet and slide down on snow. That's insane. All right, so done here in Breckenridge. I think that's where I am. Event went well. I did a keynote and then I did a workshop. Anyway, we're talking about meetings. And the last thing I want to talk about is your role. What is your role when it comes to meetings? And there's a couple of things that you can do. For example, don't multitask. You can't multitask. You cannot go through your email and attend a conference call or be in a meeting. You can't. You just can't do it. So pick one and do that. The second thing that you can do is ask good questions. If you are listening, if you're not multitasking, that means you know what's going on and you can ask good questions about the content, about the ideas, about the solutions. And then the next thing you can do is just engage. And if you are in the room, you tend to kind of sit back and be like, I don't have to participate because I'm here, right? No, you should participate. And if you're remote, you actually have to pay more attention to engagement. 8 people in a room and you're the only one online, they're gonna forget about you. It's just natural. You can't put it on them to remember you. You have to engage with the people in the room. So make sure you do that. And the last thing I'll mention is seek to understand, right? That's one of those Stephen Covey things. Oftentimes we're in meetings and all you wanna do is talk and be heard. And I can't tell you how many times someone will say something in front of the whole team and everyone looks like they're listening, and then the next person will speak and it won't be related to that at all because they're just thinking about what they're gonna say. If someone's speaking and you're about to speak next or you're about to react to that, try to summarize what that person said. So if I understand you correctly, what you're saying is this. Then you can say, well, I believe this. Seek to understand, summarize what someone's saying in the meeting, and then add to that. All right, I got one more thing to say. That's it.
Oh wow, I'm trapping on the way down. I'm grinding on like a holy rail and now hit the slows and go ham. Break, oh no, I cannot take this slow. I'm grinding on like the holy rail and now hit the slows and go pro, yeah.
I thought Flagstaff had big mountains. Those are mountains. Now, if only these mountains had air. Had to stop in this valley. It's absolutely beautiful. All right, so wrapping up here on this idea of meetings, here's my last crazy idea, and I'd love to hear what you think. Please leave your thoughts in the comments in terms of what you think makes a good meeting, or think about a good meeting you attend and why is it good, or a meeting that you run, or why meetings are bad. Let's get them all out. Let's talk about these things. Meetings in sports. And the reason I was thinking about this is because I'm in the middle of watching All or Nothing on Prime, on Amazon Prime. It's not a plug for Amazon Prime, obviously, but I'm watching All or Nothing and they're covering the Carolina Panthers. And it's the behind the scenes of last season. And I was thinking about football in terms of how they have their meetings. There's some really good meetings in football, right? You start with a lot of meetings. First, it's the coach meeting with the assistant coaches. The assistant coaches meeting with their assistant coaches so that everyone's on the same page. Then you have a meeting with all the players. And then each segment has their own meeting. Then, you know, the quarterbacks get together and the tight ends get together and linebackers, and then they have their meetings. And these are all towards action. They're reviewing the work. They're reviewing what's happening and talking about it in the meetings, creating action items. Then start the game. And in the middle of the game, in the middle of what they're doing, they stop and have a really big meeting. If you think about halftime, halftime is a meeting. It's okay, how did the first half go? What do we need to do in the second half? That's a meeting. And then they have timeouts, which are little tiny meetings about what's working well, what's not working well, what they need to improve. But I think that if you break it down and you look at football games, I bet you a lot of success and failure is tied to those meetings, how effective those meetings are, how well run they are. I bet you if you break it down between a successful team and a maybe not so successful team, you're gonna find that one of the differentiators is how they handle meetings. That's how important meetings are. All right, that's it. headed back to Flagstaff. If you like the video, please subscribe, please share, leave comments, let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next video. Look at the snow. Look at the snow up there. There's snow. I was planning on going up there. I was trying to figure out how to get up there and then realized that there's no oxygen up there. I need oxygen. I need one of those oxygen tanks. I need oxygen.